Right. Hello, Janet.
Hi, Dor.
Thank you for jumping on this call and having this. I had a few questions, and thank you for entering this conversation about them, this discovery space.
Yeah, I'm excited too.
Yeah. So this conversation started in the Possibility Management Village group, where I had some questions about the 12-step program, which is about addictions. And I'm
Mhm.
basically, I don't know a lot about that. So, and you agreed to answer some of my question, and we agreed to record that so more people can enjoy that information.
Yeah.
So, what is really the 12-step program that I understand that you took a part of it in it?
No,
Or
I want to speak. I do know a little for sure about 12 steps. I want to talk more about the addiction part of your question, of your inquiry.
okay,
Because Gabor Mate says not why the addiction, but why the pain.
not
And
why
that
the
fits
addiction,
very
so why the pain?
why the pain, why the emotions,
Okay.
which possibility management offers so many processes and maps to make the distinction between emotion and feeling, and
Mhm.
really knowing that emotion needs healing because it's always from the past.
Mhm.
So my interest in addiction has been a long journey, mostly from the trauma part, because people have trauma underneath. I would be categoric. Under 95% of addiction is trauma.
Mhm.
I don't know if you know, Dora, I've changed the word trauma, although I was seen as a trauma specialist in my previous life as a psychotherapist.
Mhm.
I've changed it to UNCLES, the acronym UNCLES, unprocessed, neglected key life events. Unprocessed, neglected key life events. And the reason I've done that is because I watch many people, we would do the emotional healing process, and then they're sticking to the story of, I was traumatized. I have PTSD, post-traumatic stress
Mhm.
disorder, as if it's a skin and an identity they wear. So that's where me using that acronym emerged from, is not using it trauma because it's an identity some people can wear. Whereas with my acronym, what is unprocessed gets to be processed. What was neglected, because often people with serious unmet needs of attunement and physical needs, they don't really call it neglect. It's that those needs that weren't met that
Mhm.
actually have the same effect on the nervous system, the accumulative effect of those relational neglects have the same effect on the nervous system as a trauma.
Can you
So
give an
that's why I called
example
it.
for neglect? Can you give an example?
Yeah. So a child whose parents say are in active addiction, the parents have no ability to attune, focus on the child, hold space for their sadness, fear, anger, joy. They don't sit there at the end of the day, help them deep process their day. Nor do they have, this is a key one, nor do they have the ability to help calm the child's nervous system.
Mhm.
So when caregivers themselves don't have those skills of presence, attunement, emotional uh, literacy, then the kid shuts all that off.
Mm.
And this is why, for me, addiction and these uncles are an intergenerational issue. Because if
Yes.
you grandparents didn't have these skills because they had to survive war, then their child doesn't get it, and then the next generation just simply doesn't have those capacities, those qualities.
Yeah, I can be an attestament
That
of
makes
that.
sense to you?
Yeah, I work with kids. I do workshops in schools when I'm in the land of Israel, and I run into kids that tell me literally I'm not allowed to feel. in my home. Because in my workshop, I hold space for them. And for most of them, it's the first time that someone holding space and saying, what are you feeling right now? You're feeling sad? Feeling sad because? You're feeling angry? You're feeling angry because? Just I close my mouth and let them answer. And I do a completion loop, which is something I learned from possibility management as well. And you can see the kids, their eyes like opening up. They're never been held space like that. So I think that's what you're talking when in that moment something is neglected, the feeling, the emotion, so they just shut it down.
Yes, exactly. And how they keep that in hiding, apart from a high numbness bar, then it gets covered with their own parent ego state. And we know any of us are in a parent ego state when we're active in one of the five drivers. And the one I'm talking about now is that be strong. I'm not okay to have emotions. Be strong, armor up, don't breathe. So to me, these are all interlinked with the neglect. You asked for an example of the neglect. So when there's neglect, we don't want to know that experience. So cover it with our parent ego state. And the parent ego state is recognizable when you identify the five driver behaviors.
Okay, thank you.
What are you thinking?
Yeah, I have this this now more clear distinction between a stuck emotion to a trauma. There's trauma is more comes from the context of psychology or therapy. And I hear that with your distinction, with your acronym, it's kind of a transition to what is a stuck emotion and how we work in the context of possibility management with stuck emotions. For example, holding space, doing emotional healing processes.
And a big one with the people with these systems, I make the distinction of deconfusion. The child needs deconfusing. So I think it's different in possibility management, but from my history as a transactional analyst, decontamination of the adult is by both the child, and that's the deconfusion that's needed, or decontamination from the parent ego state. So it's not only the stuck emotion, it's really being sensitive to helping the person language what was missing. And that's really difficult to do when it was something that didn't happen. So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
So I'll often say to someone, oh, who sat on your bed at the end of the day and helped you debrief your day? And they look at like an Ewok. Huh? Like it's so, they don't even know the concept of it, Dora. So it's a different, important skill to turn it into an inquiry to help them find the gaps. Because we can't know what didn't happen. You know what I mean? It's things like that. Oh, when you were sick, who looked after you? Well, no one. So it's actually helping them make an inventory of the neglect, the important needs that when they're met, the person can thrive.
Yeah.
But when not met, they shut down.
Yeah, I have a story that's why people go to psychology, just because the psychologists hold space and they have enough space at that moment to share and find these gaps during the day. So they're willing like to pay for it for years just to have someone holding space for that. And sometimes, I don't know, sometimes it doesn't work, but I know that holding space from when I work with my clients and there's all these gaps that you're talking about where they neglected some feeling or an emotion that happened during the day. So is that what you're talking about?
Well, I'm talking about more when I'm talking about children growing up in environments with caregivers who simply don't have enough of themselves, their being, their energetic body, to be present so the child grows up. So the child never didn't know what was missing because they're normal, excluded, having attunement, having someone regulate their nervous system. So I'm talking about the historic child.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's
So
important, yeah.
how does this develop to be an addiction, or like a space that addiction come from?
Mhm. Yeah, because the pattern of suppressing emotions, not having needs, distancing in relationship gains mass. And then we find a substitute for those unmet needs. That's my opinion. Food, gambling, alcohol, busyness, cheating on people so they can feel bad becomes an addiction when it's really repeated and the unmet needs are substituted, and the addiction never solves the issue.
Yeah. So for most people, and I think I had the same kind of definition. When I hear addiction, I think cigarettes, alcohol, and some of the things that you mentioned are that, but also other types of addiction. For example, like you said, cheating on someone, or being manipulative or in some way, or having like violent language or something like that. So can you say more about, for you, what is an addiction, or how, what is it includes?
Addiction is, well, using possibility management, addiction is a behavior that serves our underworld, doesn't serve bright principles. And I feel fear in my belly saying that, because it seems quite a statement, but I do mean that. And what I saw I did an emotional healing process with Susanna. And the part that relates here is what I saw so clearly was when we cut off, because of the extent of the uncles, we cut off from a piece of our energetic body and being. And then when the severing happens in the energetic, emotional, and archetypal sometimes bodies, the vacuum needs to be filled by something. And the vacuum gets filled with entities, vampires, demons, spirits.
And what I yeah, sorry, go.
Go, door.
When, for example, a demon, when the demon ego states take over, it almost like then we go and are willing to hurt ourselves, or drink, or stuff like that. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it's 1 week old new, this next layer for me, but it makes so much sense to the 30 years I've had in this field. When I know I'm working, that what's in the space is more than the child ego state that needs integration. I know I'm working with other energies. So the day after I did this huge emotional healing process, someone who is in 12 steps addiction, I was able to just ask, when did you split off from part of yourself? And they knew the answer. And then out came stories, well, painful experiences that we hadn't been able to reach because of their ability to cut. The Greek word being to cut is schizoid. So we cut off parts of ourselves. So I think the cut off parts get filled with different energies. And when it's intergenerational, that energy, because it's repeated so much, builds its own mass and momentum. And that comes into the next generations. Because there's less of the caregiver's being an energetic body to love and care and be present with, and to be the warrioress that says no, or warrior. I've spoke to a lot. I would like to know what it's doing in you, where you agree, disagree.
Yeah, I have the same story. I'll talk for myself, when I am creating this gap between my being here, saying yes, saying no, serving whatever its purpose in the world, I'm not doing that. There is a gap that is being created. And maybe at that point of my life, I'm not ready to deal with a certain pain. Maybe I don't know how, or maybe I don't have the processes, but also sometimes I'm just not ready to use to feel that pain. And so instead of feeling the pain, I need to fill that up. I need to numb myself in a certain way.
Yeah.
And that's where I use addiction. Like that's when I used to smoke. That's the first. I don't smoke anymore for many years, but that's like the first example. Like pull up a cigarette and smoke, or weed, like or alcohol. Go out to a party and go drink something, and that's numbs that pain where I have this gap. And I clearly remember a certain time when I was in the university that I had a huge depression that I could not feel anymore with all the addictions that I had. Like I used to smoke weed every day, to go out, drink a lot, party a lot, uh, probably also being kind of abusive. I don't know. There's this whole thing about nonviolent communication. I was probably using a lot of violent communication, or a lot of different aspects like that, so I wouldn't feel the pain of being in this depression. And then when the pain was big enough and I decided to do something and I started to change certain things, that's where I could also let go of the addiction. I could stop needing something else because now I replace it with different. So maybe
Yeah.
I'm already going forward a bit, but maybe you can say more about that.
No, that's what I think you've nailed it. And then the relational aspects, when you're talking more the drugs and numbing through those mechanisms. When we're persecuting, we're numbing our anger. So I think we can be addicted, as in it's the substitute for the real thing. So addicted to persecuting, blaming, avoiding responsibility, and persecuted to not, addicted to not feeling our fear. So we rescue and get over involved in people's lives, but under involved in our own. So we can get addicted to any of the positions on the drama triangle, as in we use it as a substitute, as a pseudo relating, but it's not the real thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to say for people that don't know the drama triangle, or we call it the low drama map, and other kind of words that we're using in this conversation. So there is a distinctionary. It's coming from the work of possibility management. It's a website that you can really go and search, find every one of these words and find a whole website about it. So you can go and explore more about this. For example, we want to know what is this low drama triangle map that is about being a victim or prosecutor. I didn't know that I'm doing that. So you can go and research each one of those things. And I also have in my channel some videos about that stuff, so I can check it out for more. But
on the low drama, just before you go on the low drama, somebody from transactional analysis called Petrushka Clarkson, it added the important bystander role. So outside the triangle, she put like a smile, and she called that the role of the bystander. I think that needs much more attention, because if I'm in a bystander role watching low drama, from manipulation or right up to physical sexual violation, I'm a bystander. I'm part of that drama. I'm part of the low drama. Did you know about the bystander role?
No.
So
Yeah,
I think I like what she added. If we do nothing about it, oh, it's not my problem, and it's happening in my space. Yeah, it's really been a challenge to me, that part she added and contributed to in TA, it's drama triangle, the low drama triangle.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for sharing about that. Would you share a bit about your journey in kind of, I don't know even to call it now, because everything is starting over in this conversation of it, but what is coming, like recovering from addiction, or like your journey in doing something with with addictions or something like that. Can you share about something from your journey about it?
Yeah, because the word addiction often conjures up, oh, you know, I'm a drug addict. The typical ones. I often like to look, where's the pain? However, when people are repeating patterns, I often say to them, hey, does this feel like an addiction? Because in an addiction, you don't have choice anymore. And they go, oh. So I add the word, does it feel like an addiction, in that you don't have choice over this anymore and your life's out of control? And most people say, yes, I don't have a choice point anymore. Well, that's the first step of the 12-step program. My life is out of control. And I need an energy bigger than the self that I need to reach out to. For me, in possibility management, it's archetypal lineage. Other people, it's God. So addiction,
So what I
for
hear you
me,
saying, is that that for you, like, addiction is having some kind of a pain, maybe an emotion, maybe it's a substance use or something like that, and when you have no choice but to use it, you feel like, if I'm not doing this, my life would end. That would be an addiction, and the process is really about eventually changing that with a certain other something that you do with that energy, like your archetypal lineage, your purpose. What are you here for to do in life? So maybe it's protecting the earth, Gaia. So when you shift from putting the energy in this pain to putting it into the purpose of your life, that's where the addiction stop, and now your life is about something else.
yeah, because you know something different is possible. Most people stuck in that cloud of addiction think that's all there is. And one of the big things from possibility management, you know, something different than this is possible. So for me, before I want to do any of that deep decontamination and deconfusion work, it's, hey, what are you here for? How come you've chosen to be on this planet at this time? And people go, oh, nothing. What do you really care about? Sometimes when people are so stuck in their choiceless place, addiction place, their swamp, I'll often say, so if you died tomorrow, what would you want us to write on your tombstone? As a heightener,
Wow.
what do you want? What, yeah. Say more about your wow door.
Yeah, what a great question to kind of shake someone that is in the state up, and it's like a great,
Shake them, yeah, and give them a light.
yeah.
That yes, you're in this horrible swamp. Well, let's work out how you got there so you can get out. But to think there's even sowing that seed. Hey, I'm glad you're on the planet because we need whatever projects you've got to do for us. Even that is like,
Yeah, wow. Great.
yeah. Because I
Good
talk about the
questions.
swamp.
I'm gonna steal your
Swamp,
questions, by the way.
they're not mine. Yeah. It's using a heightener that when they're stuck in the quicksand of the swamp, that at least they know there's a little light on the hill that they can see. And then we've defined ropes to pull them out of this intergenerational quicksand, the swamp. You know, it's generations of the same patterns.
Yeah.
And I can feel my sadness door that it takes 7 generations to see these patterns so clearly. A repetition of them. What are you feeling with the
Yeah.
topic?
I feel scared because what comes up that I'm holding rage clubs, for example, which are these transformational workshops, and they're really a space for so much growth. But my fear is that people do come to these workshops while using substance, even like, using alcohol in the day to day, sometimes smoking weed, and I don't know, even taking mushrooms or stuff like that. And I feel fear. I wonder how much, how much can it really serve them to go that. And my fear is deeper. Is like, it seems like when I'm here around Nicaragua and Ometepe, there is all this new age culture around. Every day there is like shamanic ceremony and yoga in front of the moon and cacao ceremonies. And so it's like, I see the way the movement, it feels like it's going more towards substance use. Like people do mushrooms now every day. Just every day they take like hallucinogenic mushrooms. So I have fear about, are we like, how is this, like the distinctions about addictions are kind of bouncing off that culture, and also how can we work with like with people that are taking part of that culture with all the addiction and use.
Well, I think you're holding an important question of your responsibility as a space holder door. Because if people have got these layers and layers of addiction and using mushrooms or plant medicines and things all the day, all the time, that too is a substitute and what I call a spiritual bypass to doing the emotional and underworld work.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not sustainable. They can't go there unless they're using the substance. That's my opinion. What's yours about that?
Yeah, I mean, I hear people also say that, it changed them and it did stuff for them. And yeah, I have sadness about that. There's almost like it doesn't come from a choice. It just come because they come and they integrate into a culture as refugees from modern culture. They run away from modern culture, which is really horrible and painful. They reach the new age culture and then they just integrate, and that's what's available for them. And it doesn't come from this choice, like, okay, I know how to do emotional healing processes with myself, and at a certain point I'm gonna sit with ayahuasca and try that. It's just like, that's what we do here. Like we take mushroom every day. That's what we do in our community. Like that's my sadness.
Mm. Yeah, and I know people have taken MDMA and it's changed their brain. There's the maps. I know it has effect. That's not my area of expertise or skills. So back to the research of addiction. For me, it's the place, the substitute behaviors and objects I use to not feel my unresolved emotions and the pain of the unmet needs.
So what would you say to someone that is hearing this conversation right now and is like, okay, I have an opening here. I can start doing something about it. I recognize that I'm numbing my emotions or my pain with something. It's like, what is the first step to engage with doing something about that?
From my perspective, it's always, hey, let's honor your survival mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
It's done an amazing job. And I really do like to start there with people. This isn't something you created that's bad. This helped you survive. So you can get to this point where you have a choice, whether you only want to survive in your life or whether you now want to create something different to thrive. And then I recommend possibility management websites and recordings, or come to the trainings I offer. People come for emotional healing spaces. So reach out, get involved in possibility management. I trained counselors and psychotherapists for many decades. I was an international trainer in transactional analysis. And I'm glad, because that's where I met Clinton and Marion, 2007, at the TA San Francisco conference. And in that first time I met Clinton and Marion, the way I said hello to them was to stimulate my fear to 100%. So Clinton knew, and I knew he knew, and there I was screaming. So reach out.
He has that effect on people.
It does, and I'm so glad about it, because I know he's big enough to hold whatever's inside me, and there's not many people I say that about. Yeah, I was able to go crazy with him on one lab. Because I knew I could. So other tips is, so after honoring your survival mechanism, really get to know the steps of it. It's technology. And I say, make it like a friend. Really want to get to know it, because you can't change the system that you don't know about. And then finding ways to upgrade the system. What ideas have you got?
Yeah, so I'm glad that you mentioned. It sounds like you worked years in this field, and when you met possibility management, it's sounds like it changed some things. So yeah, of course that I'm just in possibility management in the last 4 years, and with my work with my clients and for myself, I see how much like this oomph effect in this work. It's no joke. So it's no joke. So encouraging people to open a doorway with this work and do it from a place of high level fun. And just go and play with something, join a group, join a rage club, go to a work talk from someone. And I think, it really landed with me, the distinction that's coming from me in this talk, that it's about shifting where you put your energy, instead of putting the energy in all these strategies and addictions to numb the pain. Take this energy and put it in something that is, that's going towards the purpose of my life, or I'm discovering the purpose of my life in that. And
then the obstacles reveal themselves, Dora. Okay, I'm going for that, but I've got one foot still in the quicksand of the swamp. So having that vision makes the world of difference.
Thank you. And there's probably, for the average modern culture, man or woman, or even the new age culture, man or woman, there is a lot of addictions there. So it's not about like in one day change yourself, because it's not going to work really. It's going to be this journey where when you realize, oh, there's so much joy in moving this energy from smoking weed to holding space for someone, or from having a conversation with someone over a cup of alcohol, to having a conversation with someone and starting a listening space from the unknown.
Exactly. Yeah, even reaching out and asking someone, will you hold a listening space, is huge. And from my own experiences, no way would I have said I was addicted to emotionality. No way could I have said that. And I was. So that's why I prefer the word, that place of no choice. It's so stuck. But all the emotions from the past and from my ancestors that I've been healing, when that was moving in me, in the last relationship I was in, it was really tough terrain to navigate. My partner got so scared, and I don't want to. Addiction doesn't actually honor the stuckness of it, but the old entrenched patterns is what I think addiction is. The ones that don't serve life and our bright principles.
Yeah.
And if a guy's tried to say to a woman, you're being emotional, I mean, look out. Because but I can say it to the women I work with. Come on, this is emotional. It's from the past. You're manipulating the space, you're controlling the space with it. No, I'm not. Like right now. So I get away with it because I've been there, done it myself.
Mm-hmm.
And it had to come up. I'm glad you've asked this. That old emotion in me had to come up, and could only come up when I had a sense that my ex-partner was a nonviolent communication trainer, when he could hold the space. So that was really scary. I was in menopause. All this old emotion was moving and being known for the purpose of transformation.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be terrifying when that clearing out process happens for women. Premenstrually, menopausal was like being premenstrual day in and day out for 6 years. So that was a big rite of passage, clearing all that old emotion out.
Mm. Wow.
I want to know more about your research. I've done a lot of talking. What edges are you on as we navigate this new
My
topic?
edge was to read I watched the Clinton and another woman from PM, I forgot who it was, that did the 12-step program. I watched their video and I saw what, sorry?
No, I saw it too. Keep going. I enjoyed it.
So there was these links and there's a possibility. I'm going to add these links here also on this talk. There is the addiction from possibility management website, and there's the AA website, and there's the violent
Violence Anonymous.
Violence Anonymous website. And so when I read the possibility management website about addiction, I was like, I'm still liquid from just reading the list there, because there's so many ways, so many addictions that or actually violence that we use, and it's connected, addiction and this violent behavior that we use, that I was not even aware. Just from reading this list, I'm like, whoa, I'm doing all that stuff. So
you're going to put that link with this.
Yeah. And that definitely got me into a liquid state, and that's what I'm exploring right now. And the way that I plan to do it is really by bringing awareness and step by step, seeing where I can shift my energy from that thing, or feel, even sometimes just be with the pain of that. Oh, I was doing that my whole life without beating myself out, without judging myself, which sometimes cause me like to go more into the addiction. Just be with that pain and see, okay, slowly I'm shifting my energy towards something else. And I'm not going to solve everything, or I'm not going to change everything in one day. I'm just going to try to enjoy the journey and be on this path of evolution, and also do it as a team. So I'm so happy that like I have someone like you on my team, which is great. So it's part of the celebration in that.
Please, will you add Codependence Anonymous? Because that's how much people get over involved in each other's world, but not staying centered with what they need. So Codependence Anonymous.
Okay. Yeah, we'll add that too. And yeah, I just want to kind of reach out before I know you need to go soon from this conversation, and I don't know exactly when, but just to add these elements of there's like probably hundreds or thousands of people all over the world that doing possibility management. So get yourself, like for me, the first step is get yourself a team, or get into a certain space that has a team there of people, and then you don't have to do this alone. It's not something you need to do alone. You can have a team before you even start, and then and then start to go into this, see what is addictions, what are not addictions, start to explore that. And I'm going to do that. That's part of my journey, my edge right now. So I invite you to do it even with me. If you're watching this, you can send a message or something like that and can explore.
The places where you've no choice, something else is choosing, making the choices for you. That's that place. So yeah, make a team, acknowledge your survival mechanism and thank it. And then learn the steps of it, learn its technology.
Mm-hmm.
I want to pedal back to one thing you said about teaching children about emotions. My fear about that is I don't want to teach children who go back into the same environment things that are going to be dangerous to that culture of the home. So there's times when I say to them, which survival part of your survival mechanism you're going to use here? Because if they open up and start sharing anger, that could be a dangerous thing for them to do. So especially with young children, we're running a family camp soon here in New Zealand. And at first it was going to be a children's camp. And my fear said, no, I'm not helping children open up to say, if the parents haven't come to the camp, sending them back home to that family culture. So I made a different proposal to have a family camp, and I'll work with the parents while the kids are learning new tools. So yeah, just that's my caution in terms of working with the real young children.
Yeah, thank you for that distinction. I think it's important to put it on the table. Also, something that comes up that I remember from my childhood, that I had this kind of people in, like a youth counselor or some teacher, that were kind of special. They were a bit outside the modern culture. And I still remember them to the very day, because just the way they carry themselves, without trying to teach me something, without telling me you should do that, just the way they carry their culture with them really changed my life. So yeah, that's what I want to try, like, when inspiring
Beautiful.
working with children.
Dor, I've enjoyed this, and one of the feedback I get is I don't put stuff back into the village enough for the whole village to be nourished by. But this forum is the ideal forum for me to put stuff back in to the village. So why I'm saying that is I'd love to chat with you some more, so that the knowledge that is inside and the new information that wants to come can come, because you're asking the questions that elicit that information from me.
Yeah, thank you. Wow, I learned a lot. Thank you for this conversation, and we'll post it in the village, in all our teams and stuff. And
Thank you. All right.
All right.
Let's
See you soon.
stop the recording.